Welcome to Podsauce. I'm Dax Holt.
I am Alesha Renee. I'm doing my work, so I'm not
I was like,
you.
am I bothering you?
No. I know you're working over there, but the camera is rolling. Get it together. Because this is a podcast discovery show, so we too are discovering podcasts at the same time that we're delivering podcast information to you guys. We're not always abreast on what's out there. I mean, there's 3 million
Plus podcasts, 50 million episodes. It's impossible to listen to them all, check them all out. With more conversations I'm having with my friends and the bigger podcasts get, everyone wants to know, like, what's something great to listen to? And so that's been one of, like, the joys of having this job is I'm coming to them with the best stuff that we got out there and saying, check this out, you're gonna love it, I love it. So that's one fun thing about this show.
So it's not uncommon to find us looking down at notes like, say word? And that happened, so that brings me to, I got something for you today.
Okay.
True crime podcast, Rotten Mango.
Ooh, I've heard of this one.
Hosted, it's very successful, so I'm not surprised at all that you've heard about this one. This is hosted by Stephanie Soo. Give you guys a quickie on the description. So it's rotten, but still a little sweet. Rotten Mango is a true crime plus all things spooky podcast. They love doing deep dives into the deepest, darkest crimes, and they tend to not leave out any details. So what they mean by all things spooky, so one of the stories, case number 88, the Girl Under The Mattress, the kidnapping of Shannon Matthews. So the police have been searching for Shannon for like 24 days. This search would cost taxpayers $3.2 million, only for them to circle back to like one particular house. The cops are in the room and they hear this voice saying, "Stop that, you're scaring me." They're looking around.
I seriously have chills.
Out of nowhere.
Stop it.
Can you imagine walking into a space and you've cleared the room?
Yeah.
Right? But it smells like cigarette smoke. So clearly there's something
Or someone
here,
was just there.
Or someone was just there, but then out of nowhere, because again, you search the space. "Stop that, you're scaring me."
Would you literally again? Stop! You're scaring me.
So they go over to the bed, flip over the mattress. There she is, right there in the mattress. And so then they're like, "Well, where's the guy that kidnapped you?" And she points to the idiot.
Get out.
Scurried himself in the mattress.
All right, what'd you say the name of that was? That episode? So
yeah.
It's, okay.
Rotten Mango.
Rotten Mango.
That particular episode is case number 88, The Girl Under The Mattress. I really feel like you guys will, if you enjoy true crime, I think that you'll enjoy this true crime podcast. Not all of the stories end up in murder, kill, but some of them leave you with some pause.
Wow. All right, well, we got a lot more coming up on Podsauce. Don't forget to head on over to podsauce.com, sign up for our newsletter so we can get you all of our details from our shows and we'll put it straight in your email box for you. Make it easy.
Make it easy. Don't go anywhere, guys. This is Podsauce. We got more coming up.
Welcome back to Podsauce. I'm Dax Holt.
I am Alesha Renee.
All right, it's time to get into Alesha's pick of the week. This is your time to shine, girl.
I like the shimmy that you gave along with me. You have so much faith in me. I'm here for it. This one, as you all know, I am a huge advocate for mental health. I enjoy mental health. I need something to offset all the true crime, murder, kill that I listen to. And so I enjoy this particular podcast. It's called Checking In with Michelle Williams.
Okay.
You guys will know her as 1/3 of the artist formerly known as Destiny's Child.
I was going to ask him, like, is it that Michelle Williams?
It is that Michelle Williams, yes. 1/3 of Destiny's Child. But I was really encouraged by this particular podcast, mainly because Destiny's Child is in history as one of the biggest girl groups of all time. I believe that's probably, you can at me at that one, but they're also one of the most decorated as far as acclaim and accolades and have sold hundreds of millions of albums globally, and yet that still doesn't bring you peace in mind, peace and joy in your spirit. And so Michelle goes on to talk about how you can be on the world stage and still have so much turmoil, inner turmoil that you're having to contend with. Also, there can be a challenge when you're 1/3 of a group and one of the members is one of the biggest female artists of all time. Who are you outside of that? Who are you, not necessarily in regards to under her shadow, her being Beyonce, but what is your identity outside of these spaces, right? And
no, I while you're saying it, I'm thinking about how tough it must be. Like every interview you go into, there's always going to be a Beyonce question that's stuck in there. And at a point, you're a huge star, and you're like, why do I always have to talk about Beyonce? Why do I always have to talk about someone else? I mean, that I think is mentally taxing enough, and so she is the perfect person to be hosting a podcast about, you know, mental health and mental wellness.
It's just a great podcast. Great listen to. I really feel like you guys will love it. Checking in with Michelle Williams.
That's a good one. I like it. Sounds really interesting. I'll have to check it out.
It's solid.
I love Destiny's Child. I like Michelle, so I think that'll be a good
Even
one
if you just drop in on a particular, on some episodes, check out Jennifer Hudson's episode.
That's the one. Her life I find so fascinating. Obviously, the rise to fame, American Idol, getting Oscars, the tragedy. I mean, there's been so much she's lived in 20 years.
I mean, but even to clarify that, like, mind you, she didn't win American Idol. Like, Simon dragged her for filth. Then she went on to win an Academy Award with Dreamgirls. And then after that, she loses, you know, her mother, her nephew.
Family,
half her family, you know. And then she's now Aretha Franklin. She plays her iconically. Yeah, so.
Well, good recommendation this week.
I should say so myself.
And if you want to see more about Alesha's recommendation,
Checking in with Michelle Williams,
head on over to our website, podsauce.com. We have that recommendation. Well, your pick of the week. We'll have everything else that we've talked about in this episode, full-length interviews, the whole thing. So check it out, podsauce.com.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We have more. This is Podsauce. Hey guys, welcome back to Podsauce. I'm Alesha Renee.
And I'm Dax Holt.
And we are now joined by Mike Johnson and Bryan Abasolo, hosts of Talking It Out. What's up, gentlemen?
What's up? Thank you.
How you doing? Thank you for having us. Appreciate you guys.
I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
I was a huge Bachelor Nation fan. I love Bachelor in Paradise. I was super sucked in. And then they kind of lost me because they stopped bringing back recurring people. Like the contestants from that season, they stopped turning them into the Bachelor Bachelorette. So that kind of, for me, was hard. But I was very invested in Rachel's season, so I know Bryan. And Mike, no love lost for you. Please don't take that. But I think that's, you know, I don't know, there's something about Bachelor that people have this connection to it, and it's made it so successful. And I think that's why your guys' podcast has become successful. But tell me, why is your podcast different from the other Bachelor podcasts that are out there?
I feel that we go deeper with our conversations. I feel that we ask questions as if it's just the homeboys talking, right? Us and the homegirl talking. And it's like we're just on a couch right now. We're able to ask questions that the audience wants to know without making the interviewee feel some type of way.
Yeah, and it's a situation where obviously there's 3 Bachelor Nation podcasts. The happy hour is more of a recap of the show. Clickbait is based a little bit more on pop culture. We, like Mike said, go a little bit more deep. We have conversations about life, love, relationships, family, culture, you name it. And we basically take what happens on the show and we essentially apply it to like real life. So that's how we're different.
For someone who's a Bachelor novice, such as myself, break down what we can get from your podcast that we wouldn't be able to get from anywhere else.
That's a beautiful question. I think that I myself used to be a Bachelor novice until I became a host of a Bachelor podcast, Talking It Out. And the things that we talk about, you can absolutely relate. Like we talk about finding love, being vulnerable. We talk about being humble. We have real questions. Yesterday on our podcast, we had some hot topics about social media and dating. I mean, the things that we discuss are things that you can take back to your everyday life.
Yeah, like unlike the other Bachelor podcasts, which shout out to Clickbait, shout out to Bachelor Happy Hour. Happy Hour is more of a recap show, and Clickbait is more of a, you know, based on pop culture and whatnot. But like Mike said, we take it deeper. We have conversations about all types of topics, life, love, relationships, you name it. And, you know, we take things that happen on the show and we also, you know, apply them to real life. Like Mike said, you know, yesterday we had he presented a scenario where, you know, it was a DM situation. A girl slid into his DMs and we discussed that. hey, they're gonna hear it anyway on the podcast tomorrow. So
they gotta go subscribe.
It's out there.
What are your guys' DMs looking like? Well, not yours, Brian, but
like,
Mike.
they should be dry.
Yours should be dry.
Yours should be dry, Brian. I got your back. You see how quickly I answered that? I was like, his should be dry.
But Mike, what does your DMs look like after you've been on a show that is so successful, and you did? I know that you did leave without someone at Bachelor in Paradise. So what do your DMs look like the second that show airs? They know you're available. Are people just flooding in?
I have the way I'll answer this is with a movie that I like with Macaulay Culkin. It's called Home Alone.
Oh, God.
That's what's going on.
He's being modest.
Smile. Right. That smile.
Listen, guys, he's being modest. The DMs are blowing up for Mike Johnson, all right?
You know what I'll say?
Let's be clear. Let's be clear.
I do want to ask, how do you navigate the why are you single when you've publicly been looking for love and people can take away whatever they take away? This question obviously is for you, Mike, because Brian, again, you should be dry over there. You better be dry. How do you take away how do you navigate why are you single question?
I find it, to me, that's really simple. I just know what I desire. And I'm not going to settle for less. And no person on earth should ever do that. We can all be with somebody, but I think that we should be with someone that makes us smile every single day.
What kind of qualities are you looking for in a woman then?
Chihuahua.
Did we turn into the
Hold on, because I know a really smart, intelligent, funny
I'm really good at hooking people up. Don't even try it. Knock it all the way off.
Guys, on my bucket list is getting Mike a woman.
Yeah,
so,
you know what's on my bucket list?
No, knock
it off.
Getting
Leisha man. So,
pushing
Brian.
Right along. Pushing right along.
All right, let's get to work.
Brian, knock it off.
This just turned into a dating game right here.
Pushing along. What's your next question, Dax?
My next question is, if you were to come to LA, would you be interested in going out on a date with Leash?
I'm leaving the show. Everybody.
The way I'll respond to that.
Put my check in the mail.
If she subscribes to Talking It Out on Odyssey or wherever she listens to her podcast, I'm 100% down for that.
Let me tell you something.
Sorry.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Are you done or are you finished?
You know I love you.
Okay.
Are you done or are you finished?
I just want to know, are you done or are you finished?
So you've had quite a lot of Bachelor Nation fan favorites on your guys' show because you, like I said at the beginning, you guys will do kind of like pop culture topics or relationship topics, and then you'll transition into having a guest that you guys interview. Who has been someone that, is kind of an amazing interview that you would tell people, if you've never listened to our show, go listen to this episode?
Excuse me.
Brian, what would you say?
Oh man, there's a couple that I can remember. I mean, obviously all the Bachelor guests are amazing. We really dive deep and get to know them on a much more personal level than what you see on the show. But I would say I'm gonna go outside of the Bachelor podcast. I would say Shan Boudram. She's a sexologist.
I love Shan. That's my babe.
Talked all about sex. That episode was fire. And another one for me was Aaron Brockovich. I mean,
I would definitely.
That's a good one.
My bad.
That's crazy. Well, I'll say Emmanuel Acho. He was our very first guest. We talked about racism. We talked about racism within pop culture, racism within the Bachelor Nation. We talked about the N-word. I mean, we talked about things that you're not supposed to talk about, but we got really into the nitty-gritty of it. And we talked just like it's just the three of us. It's just friends. And so Emmanuel Acho and Aaron Brockovich were my favorite guests that we've had.
Listening to you guys, I'm really excited to listen to this particular podcast, mainly because we don't get men often talking publicly about their feelings as it pertains to life, love, and relationships. So I'll ask you both, what are the three things that you gentlemen are hoping people will take away, for more specifically men, from your podcast?
If I can get that, Brian.
Go ahead.
Yesterday, I can't say our guest just yet, but it was fantastic. Strength is not strictly something that's physical, right? To be vulnerable, to be open, to be honest, to say that you're wrong. The way that we're able to break these things down on our podcast with other men, with other women, with other people is quite honestly amazing. We come after men on our podcast, but we also come after women. I think that we do a really good job of just being fair across the board. And for a woman listening to our podcast, she truly gets to see that there are good guys there, but at the same time, we still are men and we're going to have banter and talk crap about one another, but just be human and be open about our feelings. It's fantastic to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just want our viewers to grow with us. I mean, we don't claim to know everything. We're learning every single week, you know, as we go along as well. And, you know, we obviously bring that male psyche perspective, but, you know, we give advice, we get advice. And like Mike said, you know, we go into those uncomfortable conversations and push our audience outside of their comfort zone where they're able to grow.
Is there any guests that you guys are dying to have on that you haven't had on yet, but we could hopefully cross our fingers down the road you guys are going to be interviewing?
Honestly, we actually talked about this a while ago, Mike. I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned I want to interview Dave Chappelle. Like, I just think not only is he like one of the funniest people on the planet, he's, you know, one of my favorite comedians, but, you know, obviously he's going through a little bit of a firestorm right now, but I just think his storytelling is amazing. And, you know, I would just love to pick his brain and just, you know, learn where he comes up with this stuff and how he ticks, basically.
Bryan, he's in Austin at a coffee shop writing it down. Like, I've seen him. That's what he does.
That's it? It just comes to him like that?
He's in Austin. He has a little drink right next to him. He's writing down jokes.
Oh, man.
We need to talk about that, Bryan, about, you know, the heat that Dave Chappelle is getting right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be one of our hot takes. These are the things that we talk about on our podcast. We speak openly and honestly, hopefully with some intelligence. For me, I would say I definitely want to have Cassie Randolph on our podcast. So Cassie, hope you're listening. You know, we would love to have you. I would like to have Kanye West, Jay-Z.
Oh, Lord.
We're reaching for the stars here, guys. We're reaching for the stars.
You got to shoot or shoot. You got to shoot.
Wait, look, I'm like Steph Curry with a shot.
You got it.
If I want Jay-Z and Kanye on the podcast,
that's it.
Steph Curry with a shot. What?
That's
We're going to get him on.
That's
it.
You know, you guys obviously are in the podcast space and you're crushing it. You guys' podcast started at the beginning of this year, but now that you are podcasters, is there any shows that you listen to outside of your own that you could recommend? Because we're all about podcast discovery here. So is there anything you guys could recommend? Mike, you go first.
I mean, you got to give it out to Bachelor Happy Hour, to Clickbait. Bryan, what do you have for that?
I mean, I got to go with Higher Learning, right?
All day.
Yeah.
Alicia, our boy Van, my wife Rachel. I mean, they're crushing it. Absolutely love their work. And I would say I love sports, so I love the Up in Smoke podcast.
That's a good one.
With Matt Barnes. Yeah. So, you know, they talk basketball. What's that?
Earn Your Leisure is a good podcast.
That's a
I like
good one,
it. It talks about finances a lot.
Yeah.
Bryan, I'm a big finance guy.
And And one last question.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the revolving guest host for Bachelor in Paradise? Do you guys have any favorites? Did you have someone that you're like, this should be a permanent host? I'm just curious.
Who did they land on?
I mean, they had everyone. Who was all? I know, like David Spade and Wells did one.
Little John.
Yeah. Little John, yeah.
Like
Little John.
rapper Little John?
Yes.
Knock it
Yeah,
off.
she said.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, it was a very eclectic group there that they chose. It made it fun though.
Yeah, any favorite that you could see?
That's hilarious.
You know, doing a good job down the road?
I think that Jesse Palmer is going to be great.
But is he going to be doing Bachelor in Paradise or just Bachelor?
I'm not sure. I know he's doing Bachelor and Bachelorette, certainly, but I'm not sure about Paradise. I think he probably will. It makes more sense that way.
Amazing. Okay, well, Mike Johnson, Bryan Abasolo, host of Talking It Out. Thank you guys so much for joining us. You guys know you can go to podsauce.com so you can get more on this amazing podcast.
If you're a Bachelor fan, this is definitely a podcast you're going to want to check out.
And if you're a Bachelor novice, you still want to get into it.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome back to Podsauce, guys, your podcast discovery show. I am Alesha Renee.
And I'm Dax Holt.
It has been our pleasure.
It's been our pleasure to serve you on your podcast discovery show.
And you are most welcome.
Thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, guys.
So it's time. I got an odd pod for us.
Okay.
You know, I like that time of the week.
Odd pod pick of the week.
Pod pick of the week. Odd pod pick of the week.
There we go.
So this is a good one. Angie recommended this one.
Okay.
It is called Ologies with Ali Ward.
Ooh.
And it's really popular on the science charts for iTunes. Like, I think the episode I listened to, they were saying that they were number 2 on the science charts. Like, they're really high up there. But it's funny. It's Ali's. She's got this comic sense of humor, but she's bringing on super smart scientists and people that specialize in certain areas, and then having a conversation with them. So the Ologies is like a possumology.
Who?
And that's a study of possums. And she dives deep into someone that knows all about possums.
Oh my gosh.
And then the next one, I'm going to brutalize this,
Do
but
your
it's
best.
called eudaimonology.
You did your best.
And it's the study of happiness.
Ooh.
But then she's got like crazy ones. She's got one that's sharks, marriage, matrimonology.
Do people get paid for this? Like, you make a life off of this?
There's one about kidneys, cicadas, butts, penises. They're funny, but they're also like teaching you a lot. Like, I walked away from this podcast and be like, I learned a lot. It was really fascinating, and I will check out more. So that is my Odd Pod Pick of the Week. It's odd, but it's awesome. I love this feature. It's called Ologies with Ali Ward. Check it out. I think you're going to really like it.
If you guys want to find out more, then you should head over to podsauce.com where you can hear more on Ologies Dax's Odd Pod Pick of the Week.
And you can get Alesha's pick from earlier in the show. You can kind of get everything there on podsauce.com. You can, if you're listening right now, you can obviously watch us, or you can head on over to YouTube as well. Make sure you follow us on social media. We're at the Podsauce on Facebook, Instagram,
Wherever you're at. The Twitter
worlds. Anywhere you can find us. And then also you can follow me. I'm at Dax Holt.
And I am Alesha Renee. Until next time, thank you all so much for joining us. Be good to yourselves. Bye, everyone.